cheerleaders, the band, their mom and dad aren't there, there's just us grinding out, okay? And then what's expected of them from a standpoint academically. And then how do they take coaching? A lot of kids today, and you're probably seeing it from the parents, can go on Google and tell you how to coach the quarterback better. Mick sees it, Hank sees it, we all see it. I've got this personal trainer back home that thinks that I should be doing this or that. We really don't care what their personal trainer thinks or what Google thinks or all that. So we want to make sure when they come to our program, they've got the right attitude. Second, I think what's lost today, and Nick alluded to it earlier, is investment. We define investment as consistent hard work over time. Consistent hard work over time. And so do they go above and beyond on and off the field in everything that they do. This plays a picture of our game against Illinois 2 years ago. We were up by 3 scores, and Illinois tried to do a surprise onside. They tried to do that little bunt kick. Hunter Bates is that young man catching that ball. Maybe you've heard of his father, Bill Bates, great player for the Dallas Cowboys. The last thing you teach your kickoff return, or the first thing and the last thing you teach your kickoff return, guys in that front line, is see the ball kicked and don't leave until the ball is kicked. And you say it over and over and over and over again. Here we are playing our rival on the road. They just scored, and you know what? We're not very happy. And you can see there's 3 guys in the pumpkin jerseys surrounding Hunter. He goes up, he's catching this ball. You can see how high he is. He's up at the guy's shoulder's length. And all he did was his job that day. But he invested greatly over time because he's one of our best special teams players. And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that think about anyone here who's over the age of 30 understands what a library is. Kids today don't understand what a library is. It's just a place with air conditioning to go when it's hot out. For all of us to gain knowledge, we had to go to a library, go to a card catalog, and use this thing called the Dewey Decimal System. Pull it out, find the number, it meant it was somewhere up in the library. If the book was there, we could find it, pull it off the shelf, and read and gain knowledge. And as Mick alluded to earlier, kids today can gain it all in something about this big. So there's a positive from that they are gaining knowledge, they're gaining information. But it's our job as educators to teach them what knowledge is. There's a big difference there. And I think the biggest thing missing in a society of instant gratification, and I have it at our level, I've got kids that graduate with a Northwestern degree that have done internships, summer jobs, and all 9 yards, and now all of a sudden they walk into a job after they get done playing football and expect to be the vice president of the company. It's not the way the world works. You've got kids that because they were a good player in the 3rd grade expect to be a great player in the 4th grade. At the high school level, it's the same thing. I was the best player in the 8th grade. I was MVP of 8th grade, 6th grade, 4th grade. Well, you were good, but now all of a sudden competition eventually catches up. So to try to teach kids to understand that consistent hard work over time with a great attitude, in our opinion at Northwestern, is a great roadmap to success. We believe if we've got those 2 cornerstones in place, we're heading down the right road. And then we fill it in with 8 more values, and I'll go quickly because I know my time is limited, but we believe that trust is lost today. And we ask a lot of questions, but two in particular. Do his teammates trust him to do his job at all times? And in our opinion, it's critically important. Do you trust that student athlete to lead the football team? I get excited when I hear from our coaches that the young people we're recruiting are captains. If they're not captains with you, and they're not captains in high school, in my opinion, then they're followers. And I'm okay with a young man that's a positive and a good follower, but I like putting a team together full of leaders. Because if they've led at your level, and led at the high school level, then they're going to be willing to get out of their comfort zone and lead at our level. And how that happens is through trust. I don't want to be redundant, but we think what's lost today is the ability to communicate. To look eye to eye and tell people the things that they need to hear. That's how you earn trust. And it happens over time. And for us, it plays very simply into the next aspect of our foundation of our program and our values is character. And you probably all preach it, we do here. We define character as who you are when no one's watching. Character is who you are when no one's watching. You know, right now, you guys are all parents and you probably have kids and you're away. Let's fast forward and now you're me. And so I'm the parent, so to speak, of 110 17 to 23-year-old men that attend Northwestern University in the backyard of Chicago in a wonderful community called Evanston. There's sin here in town, just so you wanted to know. It's Saturday night, and there's a kegger going on somewhere. And I tell the guys all the time, over in that corner is a young lady who's intoxicated and passed out, who's getting ready to be taken advantage of. Over there is marijuana, and that's a bad choice. But also in that corner is cocaine and amphetamines and the whole 9 yards. Back over there is a bunch of guys with weapons that want to get in a fight and fight you just because you're a football player. And over there is your car to go home, and if you've had a few beers to drink, it's calling for you to get you home. See, that happens for kids that I get to coach because that's reality in college. It's called sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And if they're not men of character, they don't make great choices, and they don't understand they're a part of something bigger, they don't understand that simple question. Character is who you are when no one's watching. They won't ask the question, hey coach, should I be here? Look on that shoulder. Hey mom and dad, should I be here? And they just shook their head no. And I tell them if they shake their head no, it's time to go. And be a great teammate and get all your teammates out of there with you. So now you're getting, especially if you're coaching those kids in middle school, they're going through puberty, and they're going through all those crazy feelings inside of it for the first time. Think about right now when the pool's open at your house. Think about when you go to that wedding over the weekend when they're a freshman, sophomore, and junior in high school. They're going to figure out whose parents go away and where they can throw the keg party. See, I'm not that far removed, so unfortunately for our guys, they forget that we actually weren't all born as adults. And I talk to them all the time about, I'm not being a hypocrite. I made all those poor choices. I just was fortunate to get away with it. But here's what I learned, and here's the pitfalls that go along with it. And so we ask a lot of times, do they go and do they work to their potential in all aspects of their life, especially when no one's watching? This is a picture of St. Baldrick's. This is a group of guys that we did St. Baldrick's, where you shave your head for pediatric cancer research. It's a foundation that we believe in supporting here at Northwestern. A bunch of guys shaving their heads. You know, here's the crazy thing. The guy that shaved all of our heads passed away last Friday from cancer. Jay the barber here in Evanston. So teaching guys life lessons and helping them understand. Another aspect of our program that we value deeply is honesty. And I learned it so well back home, and I learned it through being a player, but our kids are not willing to be honest with themselves anymore and say, I need help. I don't understand what you're coaching, you're telling me to do. They don't want to show any weakness. They don't want to be and open themselves up. We want to ask kids, are they honest with themselves even when it gets hard? And then most importantly, do they take responsibility? Do they take responsibility for their actions? And we've got some really tough examples right now, and I just lost a really great friend in the profession, Jimmy Tressa. Great friend. Someone that I admire, someone that I hope that we can build our program to having 6 straight Big Ten championships with. You know, a guy that I learned a lot from and was very gracious, but he made some poor choices. And it all came back down to honesty. That's what it came back down to. He had information, he didn't share it. And it was honesty. That's a tough deal. I think anyone that was influenced by Coach will tell me is one of the most positive influences that they've ever had in their life. When we think about it, can we and will we be honest even when we make mistakes? That's taking responsibility. And in my opinion, that's a critical crossroads that we're in right now in college football. You know, we want to win a national championship here, and we believe we're going to win a national championship. But more importantly, we're going to teach our guys to do the right things and be honest so that we'll be people of integrity and what we think be a part of the family. And I think back to when my dad was teaching me about how when he was in the south side of Chicago doing St. Rita in the 60s, and how it was tough. It was really tough. It was a tough society back then. And there was a lot of people that didn't get along just because of race, color, creed. I can keep going on and on and on. There were a lot of things, and it was a tumultuous time in our society. I think this is one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen. Young African-American young man with his arm around one of our Caucasian players walking off the field. That's brotherhood. That's family. And that's right at the core of what we believe in, is family. And so do they have close friends on the team? Do they understand brotherhood? What's their home life like? And I'm not necessarily sold that every young person, every young man has to have that nuclear mom and dad, or they need to have a huge support network. All it takes is one person to look in that young man's eyes and say, this is how we do it in this family. Believe is important, and then hold them to that high standard of expectations. Back in the South Side when I grew up, we were an Irish Catholic family, and when I needed a hug and it was emotional, we hugged each other and we embraced. Kind of like that man hug that was going on here earlier between Chris and Timmy. I've got that on tape just so you know. That'll come out in a later date. But we had no problem hugging and embracing. When my dad wore a size 10, I now wear a size 12. And I know exactly where to stick my shoe. It's where the sun doesn't shine when we're not acting the right way. And I've got 3 little rascals that are 6'4" and 2, Jack, Ryan, and Brendan. And we went on this little 5K walk this morning. Me and my little 4-year-old had a little positive conversation about how we were going to act today. So I think that's important, and you know, they need to understand that they're responsible for their actions and responsible for something bigger. As long as I'm the head football coach here, we're going to wear the N on our chest, we're going to put it on our helmet. Now we're going to have the names on the back of our jerseys. Because yeah, not only do we know we're going to play for Northwestern and something bigger than us, but also for us to get here, for Fitzgerald to go on the back of my jersey. Okay, there were a bunch of coaches that helped me get there. There were a bunch of family members that helped me get there. My mom and dad were on the board to help run the concession stand when I was playing football. My dad never coached me, but they were on that committee that made the chili on cold Friday or cold Saturdays and Sundays when we were playing. So they sacrificed greatly. My sisters were cheerleaders. They had to follow around and listen to how good I was. You think they enjoyed that? They hated that. They still do, but that's okay. And then I'll move forward quickly here, but the last of our second level of values is about respect. And understanding, do they want to be treated the way that others were treated? They want themselves treated. They want to treat those other people the way that they want to be treated. More importantly, when I look at young people today, they just don't quite get and understand the opportunity and the privilege that they have. I'll go back to that Ohio State example. It was a young man that just got banned from the program for 5 years based on the choices that he made. Did he really respect the opportunity that he had to be at that program? In society today, you know, back when we were playing, probably growing up, if you made those kind of poor choices, you came here in the basketball arena and winter workouts, you ran up and down the steps until you puked, did it for a week, and the coach said, don't ever do that again, and he never did it again. You can't do that anymore. Not in today's society. We had the Big Ten kickoff luncheon here over the last 2 days in Chicago. TMZ brought a camera crew to follow around the student athletes as they partied in Chicago. Different society. How are their relationships with their coaches, with their teachers, with women? Do they understand what it means to be here in a program like we have at Northwestern and those that helped us get here to this point and respect that? Like Eric Parsegian that we had come back and speak to our team a year ago, and those that are going to come after us. Because I can tell you this right now, the young man that made that mistake in Columbus just ruined that program forever. Forever. And I know he wasn't the only one, but that's the most talked about example. Then it gets kind of up into the daily action, but we value effort. We think effort is to go as hard as you can for as long as you can. Effort is to go as hard as you can for as long as you can in everything that you do. And so you might see our guys a little bit tap on their helmet. That doesn't mean that it's a sign of weakness in our program. That's actually going back to communication with our offense, because we play so fast. We want our guys to be honest with themselves and play so hard that they get to a point of exhaustion and then they let their teammate go in. And so I heard Mike Singletary talk as a student athlete when I was here at Northwestern. And he talked about how he went about conditioning his mind and his body to get ready to play in the summer. And he didn't do it initially, but he did it when he got to the Bears, when he realized that everybody was as good as he was. And so this is how he approached conditioning. The strength coach said we had to run 10 100s today, and the linebackers had to make it in 16 seconds. And so he changed his mindset. Instead of just making the time in 16 seconds and making the 10 100-yard sprints, he was going to go as hard as he could for as long as he could. So he was going to go out that first rep, and if he could make it in 12 seconds, he made it in 12 seconds. The next rep, he got in the line, did it again in 12 seconds, or 13. The next time he ran it about 15. He got 3 reps in. By the time he got to number 4, he couldn't make the time. He knew there was going to be a consequence to that action, though. He knew the coach would be upset. He knew for a moment he would be a failure. So he didn't make number 4, number 5, and number 6. He didn't even make the time. But number 7, he made the time again. Number 8, he made the time again. Number 9, he made it back again in 12 seconds. And number 10, he barely made it. So he evaluated his functional conditioning, and he said, you know what, I can go as hard as I could for as long as I could for 3 reps. The next time I run, I'm going to make 4.